But for those of you who don't know, my name is Michael Forrest, and welcome to It's Go Time. Now, before we get going, let me ask you guys if you cannot send me any text messages while I'm up here, because really, like when you're moving around doing the whole hosting thing, that can really throw you off. And all of a sudden, you're talking, and then there's this big wall of text in front of you that can mess you up. So if you can hold your comments, like your text messages and stuff, until the end, I really appreciate that. And you're going to notice in your lower left there, you have your menu wheel, and at the top of that menu wheel is a microphone icon. When that microphone icon is clear, that means we can hear you and what's happening in your environment. And we've gone ahead and turn that to red. So this way, if somebody comes into your space and says, "Hey, are you still on that thing?" We're not going to hear any of that. We're not going to hear that at all. Likewise, if you have a barking dog in the background, you're not going to face social ruin back at the campfire of becoming known as the avatar that suddenly started barking during its go time. That would be terrible. But just because you're muted doesn't mean you can't participate, doesn't mean you can't express yourself. You're going to notice you have a pink cheek smiley face in your menu wheel, and it gives you a wide variety of options to express yourself once you open it up there and they're in front of you. Like if I share something really deep and meaningful, something really powerful, and it starts to build up inside you, you can just let it out. Just let it flow just like that. Maybe I got some backup dancers backstage, right? And, they come on out, we break into It's Go Time, the musical, and you're all very impressed. I can throw up the applause that I live for, right? And take a moment to drink it all in because it feels good. All right, if I ask you guys a yes or no question, you could say yes by smiling like this. You could say no by frowning like that. If I do or say something funny, you can do the silly face emoji to show me that you're laughing. And then there's this thing. This is by far the most distracting of all the emojis. I think we can agree on that. You got a giant hand sticking out of your head. What's that about? We're not going to use this to raise our hand to ask questions. We'll be taking questions and comments at the end. We're going to use this as a signal to let me know something's gone horribly wrong. Like if I'm up here and I'm waving my hands around like this and you're like, wow, this guy really looks like he's into it, but he's not saying nothing, right? Well, that's the kind of thing I'm going to want to know about, right? Or my voice gets choppy or something like that. Or maybe like the displays, burst into flames suddenly because the moderators have seen this event one too many times. They've had enough. They're not going to take it anymore, right? So they're going to lash out and they're going to set the stage on fire. Don't laugh, man. That's happened before. They've done this more than once, and it may happen again. And in the event that it does, you're going to want to let me know, like, hey, Michael Forrest, there's a fire behind you. But how do you do when you're muted? Well, you go like this, right? Now, listen, if one of those hands goes up, I'm just going to, probably keep on going because there might be somebody messing around. But you know what? If 5 of them go up at one time, I know there's a problem that I'm going to need to address, right? Now, you can press the X in the middle of the emoji panel to close the emoji panel. But, you want to keep it open during events like this. It's a good idea. It gives me feedback. It lets me know how I'm doing. But more importantly, it lets the person next to you or around you know what you're experiencing. So if the person next to you starts going like this, that means they found something funny, right? And you may not agree. You might be like, well, that's not funny at all. I'm going to go stand over here. And you can totally do that because this is VR. Except you can't do it up here because we agreed that you guys would stay off the stage area, right? This way you guys can, this way I won't be, nobody will be blocking what's left of my display, because recently they've taken out the displays for us, so we don't have the ability to put in slides temporarily. We're working on a solution right now, but until we do, we got enough to get through the event. But normally we have like a slide presentation that goes on behind me, so we're going to try and do our best to work around that. All right, now what is Go Time? Go Time is an event for Oculus Go users, but all are welcome. So if you're on another device, feel free to hang out. You may pick up some useful information that helps the Go community in Altspace. There's a lot of Go users in Altspace, and even now, still more arriving each and every day. And soon numbers will be so huge, they'll go and they'll take over the campfire. It'll be amazing. But how can they do that without training? Well, that's why we're here. All right, we're going to show you, because listen, being on an Oculus Go in Altspace is not without its challenges. And well, how you address those challenges is what we're going to go over here today. Okay. Speaking of challenges, I've been in bed about the past, let's say, a couple years now due to a medical condition. It's gotten a lot better, but when I first received my Go, I couldn't wait to get this thing on. You guys remember that feeling when you first put on a headset, that feeling of being taken away to another place? And it's magical. There's nothing like it. And I had been reading about Altspace for a while. So when the first time I put on that headset, Altspace was my first stop. And the first time I came out of that glow screen for the very first time, the first thing I did was I looked up, right? And I took in, I was looking at the sky up there, and I was like, it didn't look like now with these wood beams here. You had this like open sky, and it looked real. It looked a lot like what I remember a real world sky looking like. And I was grateful for this. I was so grateful I started volunteering for Altspace that very first day. I started moderating for events. And what I found was my battery power wouldn't last long enough to get me through an entire event. All right, but I started asking questions like, how can I improve this? And the answers I got to those questions eventually led to this event. All right, And but in the beginning, like when I was asking those questions, I heard a lot of misinformation. All right, I heard, for example, that let's see if I can get this out here. This laser pointer here, which some of you may not see because I understand there are being problems with this, but if you guys can see this laser pointer here, I was told that I wouldn't be able to operate this. Can you guys show me some smiley faces if you can see this? You guys can see this? All right, cool. So the trick is to bring it out when you're going to use it. All right, I get it. Because when you bring it out early, apparently nobody can see it. All right, cool. All right. Yeah, I was also told that the displays, that we usually have with the slide decks, I was told I couldn't work those on an Oculus Go. And it turns out, that turned out to not be true. I could work the laser pointer and the display, but now nobody can work the display because they're gone. So that it's gone. But yeah, and I was always told that, I was also told that despite having a background presenting material like this in the real world, that my device wasn't going to be reliable enough for me to host events. And you know what? Not only did that turn out to not be true, right, but I went on to become a very prolific Altspace event host. I've done over 350 events in Altspace, and you can too. I like to think I did a pretty good job of that, and I did more than half of those on an Oculus Go. All right, so you don't let that stop you if you hear anything like that. But it told me that at the time, hearing all this misinformation, it told me that there was a huge disconnect between the perception of what it was like to be on an Oculus Go versus the reality of that experience, what it was actually like to be in Altspace on an Oculus Go. And that's not to say there aren't problems. There are. And there's two approaches you can take to solving these issues. The first is that you can work with the device you already have on your head. Before you leave here today, you're going to pick up some information that's going to, solve some of the more common issues. But also you can upgrade your experience to exceed the limitations of your device. And I say it like that because, listen, you'll see this on the Discord a lot where, people say things like limitation on other device. They'll say weaker device. They'll say inferior device. And it never feels good to hear any of that, especially when, you spent good money on your device. And listen, for all the talk of that, the Oculus Go is an incredible introduction to VR. All right. Now, I'm on a Quest now, but if I had started out on the Quest, I wouldn't have stayed. All right. On an Oculus Go, I didn't have to worry about the vertical height. I have to worry about the complexity of two controllers, and it allowed me to get used to VR at my own pace. All right. And then, make up my own mind about whether I want to, go in deeper and experience more, and it does it at a pretty affordable price. It's a pretty amazing experience. That being said, there are problems being on the go, and we're going to address those. Let's see. The first, we're going to start with the device on your head. And, you may not realize this, but your headset loses power even when it's not in use. So if, at the end of your round in Altspace, you're going to, you put the headset down and you charge it up and it has 100% power, and you maybe, go to sleep for the night. In the morning, you're going to find that the headset has less of a charge. And the reason for this is because your headset is always looking for updates to apps, updates to the firmware. Maybe it's got a pen pal on the other side of the world. Maybe your headset has a whole secret life that you know nothing about, right? That can be devastating to find that out. So it's important to charge up before you come into Altspace. Right. So if you look at the event calendar and you go to altsvr.com and you see that Go Time is going to be on tonight and you've heard good things, you're like, well, the host is amazing. He's got this hair, he's got this jacket that you're starting to see everywhere. Right. And you want to go to it. So what you want to do is you want to plug in your device about an hour before the event starts. All right. And what you do is once you've plug in the device, you make sure you have 100%, because if you come into Altspace with, say, a 20% battery charge, and it's just true of a lot of other mobile devices too. If you come in on a 20% charge, you're going to notice that the performance isn't as good. Your screen is going to flicker and you're going to have a lot more problems. So the best thing you can do for yourself as an Oculus Go user is to make sure that you have 100% battery power. All right. And also what you want to, let's see, you're also going to find, I've lost my place here for a moment because, I'm working without slides today, so it's kind of a challenge, But listen, when I first started out, one of the best pieces of advice I got was to, was to turn down my brightness. All right. It would make my battery last longer, and I'd be able to last longer in Altspace. And I didn't want to do it. I wanted to have the best graphic experience I could possibly have in Altspace. And to me, that meant have it my brightness turned up to like retina burning levels. I mean, it was painful, but my graphics, they were awesome. And, or so I thought. But, listen, I wanted to last longer in Altspace, so I figured I'd try it. Now, when you first put on your headset on the Oculus home screen, on the lower right, there's an area for settings. And when you press on that, you're going to see right in the middle of the bottom of the tabs there, you're going to see an area for brightness. So I turned the auto brightness off, and there's this big blue bar there where you can, we can adjust the size of the brightness intensity manually. And every time I came into Altspace, I would turn that blue bar down a little bit more and a little bit more and just a little bit more until finally the blue bar was completely gone and my brightness was completely off. And I came into Altspace and I couldn't believe what I saw. Now, back then I was helping out at an event, and it was held on this like island, and there was this tree in the corner, and all the moderators would gather over by the tree before the event would start to catch up and stuff. So I'm walking over there to catch up with everybody, and I just stopped. and I'm looking up at that tree, and it was more realistic than I'd ever seen it before. And I would see this tree every day. It looked like the performance and the graphic intensity was so much better. So if you turn your brightness all the way down, you're going to enjoy better graphics. Your device is going to perform better. You're going to experience better performance. But most importantly, your battery is going to last longer. So there's no reason not to do this. Now, if you're making a big jump from, say, 75% to having the brightness all the way off, it may take you a few minutes to adjust to it, but it's absolutely worth doing. All right. Now, also, you're going to notice from time to time that your real world hand might be right here, but your avatar's hand might be way up here. Now, in Altspace and in VR in particular, body language is actually very important. Right? You can convey a lot without actually saying anything. Like if you're at an event like this and a moderator comes up to you, right, and they start shaking their head back and forth just like this, without them saying a word, they're saying, don't do that thing, right? Likewise, if, maybe somebody makes it up on the stage and I'm going like this, right? Without me saying anything, that means get off my stage. I'm a trained professional. It's very dangerous up here. You don't want to be up here, right? Now, but if my hand doesn't match where it is in the real world, when I'm waving my hand like this, all you guys are going to be seeing is my hand going like this, and it's going to look like I'm saying, hey, everybody, welcome to Go Time. And I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying get off my stage, right? Now, the way you fix this, all right, it's pretty easy to fix, actually, if this happens to you, right? All you need to do is put your hand at your side, right, like this, stick your hand straight out, pull your elbow in. So basically, you got your hand out next to you, right? Look straight ahead. Now, on your controller, you have your touchpad, and below that, you have a button, and below that, you have a button. That bottom button, you have to think of that as an eject button. It's going to pull you out of Altspace. So don't press it now, because if you disappear, I'm going to feel it, right? This button does do, and if you press it by accident, you'll see a screen in front of you that says to quit or resume. It's one of the best ways to leave Altspace. You press quit, and the app will close, right? But if you press resume, if you press it by accident, it'll take you right back into Altspace. It'll be like you never left. So if you're dancing around at the universe and get a little carried away and you press it by accident, what's going to happen, is you can just press that resume button and no one will even know you're left. And then, then Yuji won't destroy you with the Russell Man powers, right? But if you have your hand at your side like that and you're looking straight ahead, this bottom button does something else. If you press, and this you can do now, if you press and hold that button and don't let go, what you're going to see is a white circle spin in the air in front of you, and then your hand is going to snap right into place. Right. And when it does, take a good look at your hand and ask yourself, is this where my hand is in the real world? Now, if it is, then you're good. If it's not, then do this again as many times as it takes till you feel comfortable. Only you can determine what feels comfortable for you. Okay. So that'll take care of that. You're also going to notice that collection of circles in your lower left, your main menu wheel there. You're going to notice every now and then that drifts around. Like you may notice that it's in front of you and it make you feel a little off balance. Or even worse, sometimes it can move behind you completely and you won't even be able to see it anymore. And somebody's going to say, hey, open your main menu. And you'll be like, I don't have a main menu. And they're going to go, it's that blue triangle right next to you on your left. And you're going to go, I don't see it. Right? And they're going to go, we got to open that menu. What do I do? And you're like, look, I'm telling you, there's no triangle. And I've actually been through this before. And they're like, I don't see where it is. And after some experimentation, we found out that the menu wheel was actually behind them. All right. So that can happen every now and then. But it's important to remember that on Oculus Go, your main menu is in your hand at all times. Just below the trackpad, that middle button, because we have two buttons below that, that middle button is actually your main menu button. You don't have to press that blue and white triangle button if you don't want to. You just press that middle button and your menu is going to open up in front of you. But listen, if you're looking straight ahead when you do this and you press that button again, the menu will close, but you will find that the menu wheel in your lower left is right back where it belongs. Okay. So that'll take care of that if that happens to you. Also, you're going to notice, every now and then, let's see, this is terrible. Like I said, it's the first time performing without the slides here, so we got to kind of see what we're doing there. All right. Okay. Oh, yeah. Now, listen, around the time I did this, around the time I turned my brightness all the way down and my battery started lasting longer, I started making it through entire events, right? And once I did this, I found that, I became aware that Oculus Go users didn't have the best reputation in Altspace. And the reason for this is because, listen, the microphone on the Oculus Go is incredibly powerful, right? And as such, when the sound comes out of your ear straps, it gets picked up by the microphone and projected out through your avatar into Altspace, which is, we're not aware of this because we don't know what we sound like in Altspace. We can't actually hear ourselves. Other people can, but we can't hear the sounds that we're making. We don't know what we sound like. As a matter of fact, I was performing in Altspace for like a year before I actually knew what I sounded like. I only became aware of how I sounded in here when we got our YouTube channel. If you see behind you, we've got Raven Eye floating in the air. That's actually our YouTube channel. If you want to feel VR famous, feel free to wave on out and be like, hey, YouTube, how's it going? You want to come into Altspace? It's a good time in here. We got Delcine in here. We've got Mrs. Grumps. We've got Hummingbird. We've got Cato the King 54. We got Morgan Forrest over here. We've got Samesha over here. We've got let's see, we got Annie in the corner over here. Come on in, Altspace. I think you'll enjoy it. All right, but yeah, I didn't know what I sounded like until I did that. And the reason for this is, and why this is a problem, is because listen, let's say you're standing there, you're hanging out with some friends. I'm talking to Mrs. Grumps here, and I'm like, did you hear the thing about Hummingbird? I couldn't believe it. You know, it was just amazing. I just thought, wow, I can't believe that actually happened. And then all of a sudden I hear a voice and it sounds incredibly familiar. It sounds like it's got, you know, really hosting potential. So I turn around to see what's there, right? And I see you're coming up to me and I hear my voice coming out of your avatar. Only it was as it was a couple of seconds ago because there's sound delay. And this has the effect of you feel like somebody's copying you and it can make you very difficult to talk to. It can really throw you off. Fortunately, it's very easy to fix this. You're going to notice on the top of your headset on the left-hand side, you have two buttons. All right, the leftmost button is the volume down button, and just next to that's the volume up button. And when you press either of these, you're going to see vertical bars appear in the air in front of you. Some will be solid and some will be clear. What you're going for is 4 clear bars on the right-hand side. This is going to set the volume at such a level that the microphone won't be able to pick up that sound. All right, and you're going to find people are nice to you almost right away. One surefire way to fix this is to attach a pair of headphones to your headset. That'll help a lot with that. You know, or a pair of inexpensive earbuds will make sure that the only voice coming out of your avatar is your own. Occasionally, you're still going to hear like a family member, you know, come in and say, "Are you still on that thing?" And the best way to solve that is get that family member a headset. They can come in and see how great VR is. And then when somebody walks in on them and says, you know, "Hey, are you still on that thing?" Well, then they can get them a headset, and then you know it'll go on like that for a while. And then before you know it, everyone will be in VR, and then you know we can do a lot more and grow a lot more in here, and then we can see how great it is. All right, now. You know, well, listen, you know, when I added the earbuds to my device, that got me thinking, what else could I add to the device that would make it perform better in Altspace, right? How can I solve some of these other problems? And so I started doing some research, you know, to solve some of the other issues I was having with the Go. And I came up with what I call a Go Plus experience. And I call it this because, you know, I would go to heavy performance worlds. And when I would get there, I would see other Go users disappear into the floor. I would see them, oh, wow, Santa's here. I didn't realize this event has been drawn such a, you know, popular crowd there. But yeah, you know, once I, you know, added these things on my device, I came up with this Go Plus experience because when I would go into these worlds that were heavy performance based, I'd see other Go users crash and I would remain. My device became super reliable and yours can too. All you have to do is make a few small changes. I'm going to go over those with you. But before I do, in order to discuss these, I'm going to have to discuss these products behind me. All right. I just want to be sure you guys understand that these are not the only products that work. These are just the products that I use, so I feel comfortable recommending them. But other products that work. It's the ideas behind the product that matter. But if you want to actually give any of these a try, we've made them easy to find for you because it's really difficult to write things down in VR. So if you go to altvr.com, in the upper left, you're going to see a link that says channels. And if you press it, you're going to see a list of all these wonderful Altspace event channels. And down toward the bottom, and the admins assured me it doesn't mean anything that we're on the bottom. I think it does, but they said it means nothing. You're going to see Ravenhall events listed there, like it says up in the sound booth and on that banner behind me. And when you press on this, you get taken to our event page. And on the left-hand side, you're going to see all these products listed out if you'd like to try any of them out. Also there on the left-hand side, you're going to see a join Discord button. If you'd like to say hello, or you have any questions, you need to contact us in any way, you want to help us put on events like this, that's the best place to find us. Also on the upper right, you're going to see the most important button on the internet. It's the subscribe button. And when you press it, Altspace knows that learns that you enjoy our content, right? Also, it makes us feel good. We don't get paid to do this, and it just really, feels good whenever we see that number go up. Also, even better, it feels better, even better than that when you guys subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you are watching on YouTube today, you'll find links for these products in the description below. Wow, I nailed that one. I usually mess that up. I'll be like, you'll find the links in the description somewhere. Yeah, it's below. That's it. But yeah. Now, what these products are and what they actually do. The first one we're going to discuss is this Anker Power Core battery pack. All right. And what this does is, Altspace, now Oculus tells us not to use our devices while they're plugged in, right? But they say it is cool to use an external battery pack. So, I got this and because listen, I don't know if you've ever noticed it, but when you plug in your device, you ever notice how tight that port is, right? The port can be very tight. And every day of unplugging it and plugging it in and unplugging it, all that wear and tear is going to loosen the connection and it's not going to charge as effectively after a while. All right. So when I became aware of this, all right, I found this MagSafe cable. That's its middle product here. And the USB port plugs into the battery pack there. And one of these tips plugs into your headset. And this here is a magnetic connector, right? And that magnetic connector is a great safety feature because what this does is, like, let's say you turn your head suddenly in VR and it pulls on that wire. rather than have your headset get yanked down and have your whole world turn upside down and mess up your experience, the wire will just pop off. And you don't even have to come out of VR to fix it. All you have to do is just hold up your hand with the wire to the side of your headset and it'll pop into place, right? And you'll make this like thunk sound. And if you have your microphone open, your friends are going to hear that and you're going to go, "What was that?" And you're going to be like, "That's power. That's what that was." You don't have to say that. It's not going to make it work any differently. It's just something I like to do. So feel free to carry that on if you like. All right. Now, around this time, I'd also become aware because when I got the battery pack and the wire there, I started lasting longer in Altspace. Right. It was great, but I now had a new problem, and that was I'd overheat all the time. Right? Any of you guys ever overheat in Altspace? It's a pretty common thing. I'm seeing some hands go up there. Yeah. I'm seeing some smiles. It happens to Hummingbird a lot, I know. So what can happen is some people found interesting ways to deal with this. Some people use like ice packs, and some people use bags of frozen peas and stuff. And I don't think it's a good idea to do any of this stuff because, listen, if you're holding something like that up to your headset like that, right, it's going to create condensation inside your device. And water and electricity on your face is probably not the safest thing to be doing. Not to mention the people I know who did this went through more than one headset. So this can get pretty expensive. You don't want to damage your device. All right. A safe approach to take is by using this this AC Infinity USB fan, right? It's a mini fan. It's small. It fits in the palm of your hand. It's very tiny. And what you do is you attach this to your headset. Some people do this in a variety of ways. They do it. Some people have used string. I know people that myself, I use those elastic hair bands, and you put them on your ear straps. You make an X over the front of your device, and you wrap it around these round rubber feet on the fan, right? But you got to make sure that the silver part is facing the faceplate. Now, the first time I tried to test this out, I came into Altspace, right, with all of it on, and I had to moderate for the meditation event in Altspace, very popular event. You'll see, it's held at the top of a mountain, very nice space. You've got like this, fog with the sunlight coming down through it. You've got like the smoke coming up through the bowls. It's a really, really great space. And when I went there, I was, moderating, so I went in early. And for some reason, I would always overheat exactly 20 minutes in that experience. So it's a great place to test it. So I walk in there, and I got the wires hanging down from my headset. So much for a wireless experience. But you know what? I mean, you ever seen Star Trek? I felt like the Borg going in there, right? And I went in there, and I went up to the host, Jeremy, really nice guy, and I asked him, "Can you hear my fan?" Right? I wanted to make sure, the audio was good. And he said, "No, I can't hear it at all." I'm like, "Well, that's great." So I turned it up to the medium to see what that was like. And I said, "Can you hear it now?" And he said, "I can hear it a little bit, but it's not that bad." So I turned it up to full blast just to see what happened, right? And before I could even ask, he turns and he faces me and he goes, "You sound like you're lost at sea, man. You sound like you're in a wind tunnel. You're going to want to turn that down. You're going to ruin the event." And I'm like, okay. So I turned it all the way down, and spoiler alert, I never had to turn it up again. This is what happened. When I went through the event, the place I would normally overheat at that 20-minute mark, well, that came and went. And then the event finished, and I still hadn't overheated yet. So I wanted to see where the line was. So I went to another event. And you know what? Two full events in a row, and I didn't overheat once, right? And then I went to a third event, and I didn't overheat there either. 3 events in a row, didn't overheat one time. So I went to my home space after that. I hung out with some friends, and you know what? Right? It happened for the very first time. I left Altspace because I was actually tired. I left Altspace not because I had to, right? I didn't leave because I ran out of power. I didn't leave because, my device overheated. I left by choice because I actually wanted to. And it was the first time that ever happened, but it wouldn't be the last. After that, I became super active in Altspace. I was moderating all the time. I was hosting everywhere, and you can too. None of this stuff is very expensive. All right. It's very easy to do this stuff. This USB fan at the bottom here, this AC Infinity fan, this is $10 or $11 US. This wire here, the MagSafe cable, this is about $7 US. And this Anker Power Core battery pack is the most expensive thing up here. It costs about $30 US, but you know what? It comes in a variety of sizes and colors. Like, let's say, because that battery lasts about 16 hours, right? Maybe you're not going to spend 16 hours in VR. Maybe you only come in for a few hours a night. So you're not going to need, something like that. You can, go with a small capacity and save a little bit of money, right? So you got to do what works for you, is basically what I'm saying there. All right. Now, once I, did all this, right? Now, there were still problems being on an Oculus Go in Altspace, right? And these were more like annoyances. And let me show you how to manage some of these, right? The first one I'm going to talk about is a movement issue. Like, let's say I turn to Delcine to say something, right? Turn to my left, but instead of turning left, I go straight. And I'm like, well, that was really weird, right? And maybe I turn right to say something to Andy here in the corner, right? But instead of turning right, I go straight again. And I'm like, I didn't mean to do that. So I press down on my controller to move backwards, but instead of going backwards, I go straight again. And I'm like, oh, and I start bashing buttons. And no matter what I do, I keep moving forward and I can't stop, right? Now, and next thing you know, I'm standing inside of an admin. There is nothing more frightening than standing inside of an admin. Man, when I was in there, I saw things about the future of Altspace. There was like flying cars and lasers. It was horrible. It keeps me up at night. I can't even talk about it. What I can talk about is, listen, how to manage this if this happens to you. All right. What you want to do is on your trackpad, right? Your trackpad is sensitive to heat, moisture, and of course, touch because it's a touchpad, right? And every now and then, you're going to need to reset that connection. And the best way to do that, right, is to simply take your thumb and very gently, without pressing down, very gently, just swipe your thumb across that trackpad. You know, from right to left, or left to right, doesn't matter. But when you get to the other side, lift your thumb off of it completely and cross over to the other side. And when you come down, swipe it again, right? And if you do this 2 or 3 times and then come down in the direction you want to go, it's usually going to take care of this problem. So if I go to turn left, but I end up going straight, on reflex, I'm going to go swipe, 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 and then I'm going to come down in the direction I want to move, and it's going to take care of that, all right? Now, another thing that you're going to find that can happen is when you put your headset on, you're going to get a message that says can't find controller. All right. Now, if this should happen to you, it could be you need to replace your battery in the controller. Let's say you know for a fact that you put a fresh battery in that last night, so you know that's not the problem. Right. But you're still getting this message, can't find controller. Maybe your controller's found out about your headset's secret life, you know, and it's not happy about it. It's very devastated. It's like, I'm not talking to you anymore, headset. Right. Listen, you don't even have to take your headset off to fix this. All you have to do is remember 2 words, double down. And all you need to do that is if you press and hold those 2 buttons down there on the very bottom of your controller, those 2 buttons at the same time, if you hold that for 3 or 4 seconds, a little white light's going to appear on your trackpad. Now, if you're wearing your headset, you're not going to see this white light, but you know what you will see? When you lift your thumb up, you've got your hand back, right? And you're going to step in that load screen coming in Altspace. You're going to be on top of that mountain, right? And you're going to be on time for your event. And you're going to be like, man, I sure am glad I went to Go Time. That Michael Forrest, he knew what he was talking about. He told me to double down, and now I got to be on time for my event. And if that should happen to you, you're welcome. Okay, so, all right, now let's see what else we have here. Now, you're going to notice every now and then, and this doesn't just happen on the Oculus Go, this happens on all mobile devices, but you're going to notice every once in a while your screen goes dark in Altspace. And the reason for this is everything you see in here today, all of your fellow avatars, this very plush rug that sometimes people fall into, right? This stage, you know, what's left of my slide presentation, this big shiny red button that we use at our end of our events for this cool effect that we're going to do, all this stuff takes up memory, all right? And now when your headset, when the memory gets full, right, you're going to encounter your screen going dark. Now, your microphone will still be open. Your friends will still be able to hear you. And all you have to do is say, listen, I'll be right back. That's it. All right. Now, let's see. So that's all you have to do that. And, if what you can do is get ahead of this problem before it happens. And the way you do this is by that bottom eject button, right? You just press that and then hit quit on the Oculus screen, and that'll, close the app, and then you just restart the app. So if you do this from an advanced position, it can, manage it before it happens to you. So if you've just explored 3 worlds, you've got a lot of stuff in your headset taking up memory, and your friend says, hey, let's go to the campfire, and you want to go, right? The best thing for you to do is manually clear the memory out. This way your screen won't go dark in the middle of a conversation. So if you've just explored 3 worlds, clear your memory out by saying, they'll go, oh, you want to go to the campfire? And you go, sure, I'll catch up in just a minute. Then you hit that eject button, you press quit, you restart the app, and when you come back into Altspace, you're going to find that you're going to be getting that dark screen a lot less because you're managing it, in an advanced position. It's the best way to handle that. All right. Now, at this point, we're a little bit short on time, but I do have time for a couple of questions here. What I'm going to do is you're going to notice in your lower right, a raise hand button is going to appear as if by magic, right? If you have any questions or comments you'd like to make, just go ahead and press that raise hand button. While we wait for that to fill up, if you guys want to follow us on Twitter, you can find us at _ Uncanny Valley, and you'll find us there. That's 2 underscores. All right, listen, we have Eric. Eric, you're on the air, and I get to feel like a radio show host. Where are you, Eric? I don't see you.
Right here.
What you got? Right here. Where is here? Oh, there you are in the back. Nice hat. I like that. Cool. What's going on?
Thank you. Hey, so I heard that leaving it plugged in as it's on is not good.
It is not recommended, but they do say you can use an external battery pack. I do know some people who do it, but it is an at your own risk kind of thing. You can increase your better performance because, listen, the Oculus Go has some real heat issues, especially in Altspace. Altspace is a very intensive app. And the best way to manage it, I don't know if you were here for this, but getting that external fan, right, will take care of all of the overheating issues. All right. But it is definitely, not great to be leaving it plugged in. They don't recommend doing that. But, I know people who have done it. They don't have any problems. And the main issue is that faceplate on the Oculus Go, that's a cooling plate. and it's installed by hand. So some people experience different results with it. Some people overheat every 20 minutes. I knew a guy that overheated every 2 minutes. As a matter of fact, the first go time we ever had, there was a guy who came up to the stage. He says, "What does it mean?" He says, my headset overheats so much it actually got pushed in, like the shape of the headset actually changed because the plastic had melted. That's how hot it got. And I realized it was a very serious issue. That's how we came up with the Go Plus experience with the fan. Because the ice pack thing, that doesn't really work either. So yeah, that'll take care of that. Yeah, so
and
you don't want
that
to plug
will
it
go. Okay, and so would that apply also to the Quest? Also, don't leave it plugged in as you're using it.
Well, see, the Quest, they say, I've heard, I don't know if they've changed their position on it, but when the Quest came out, they said that it is okay to use it plugged in, but they recommend you only doing that during seated experiences, because if you're standing up and you're walking around, it's much easier. You're going to have pull on that wire, and you don't want to, fall or have any kind of accidents like that. All right. But I'm plugged in on my Quest right now, and, it's not an issue as much because you have an internal fan on the Quest. All right. A lot of the things that are in the Quest actually came from the Oculus Go. All right, and some of the solutions that the Go community came up with to solve some of the issues like the overheating, they actually put those solutions into the Quest. So they found that a lot of Go users were using the fan solution, so they put a mini fan inside the Quest right on top of the processor. So this way, when it overheats, or it gets too hot, that fan will kick off. The only problem is when you first hear that fan, right, you don't know where it's coming from. It's a weird experience. You're like, is that a plane? It's been up there for a while. What's going on? Is there a helicopter outside my house? Have they found me? You don't really know where it's coming from the very first time it goes off. It's very quiet though, but you will hear it. And once you get used to the sound, you don't even notice it. But it's when it does go off the first time, you're going to wonder where it's coming from. It's really strange because you would think it would sound like it's coming right in front of, like it's coming from the general front direction because it's on your face. But for some reason, at least in my house, it sounds like it's coming from the other room on my back right there. It's like in that general direction, not like you guys can see where I am, but coming from that direction, that's where I hear the fan noise at. It's very strange. If you've ever experienced that, look out for that. All right, everybody. At the end of our events, what we normally do, if you have more questions, we'll take them there. What we normally do is we take everybody flying. We teach you guys how to fly in Altspace. And the way that we do this is we press this red, shiny button over here. Now, when I press this, direct your attention out this window here, because you're going to see a Ravenhall Talon hovercraft, which is a type of aircraft. It's going to come down the street here, and you'll be able to see it out the window. It's going to go up over those trees and land in that backyard area. And then we're going to head on out to the Ravenhall Flight Academy and teach you guys to fly. So I'm going to go ahead and press this and watch what happens.
Ravenhall Talon aircraft en route to your position.
There it is. Look at it go. All right, everybody, let's head on out and meet it. So we'll go on out back here, and we'll meet it as it comes in. And listen, if you guys have learned anything here today, please share it with those you come in contact with. So if you're hanging out in the campfire and somebody says their face is on fire, so it won't stop overheating, tell them about Go Time, tell them about the fan, tell them how to find that stuff, and that's how we keep this thing going, because, by helping each other. All right, here it comes. It's going to get in kind of low. Don't be worried. It hasn't hit anybody yet. Here we go.
Talon aircraft is now boarding outside for transport to the Ravenhall Flight Academy. Please exit the building and step into the blue light. Thank you.
All right, everybody. Thanks for coming. You've been a great audience. I'll see you next time.